Hello, everyone. My name is Alex, and I'm here to talk to you about my final paper, which is called The Effects of the Economy During the COVID 19 Pandemic. The pandemic unleashed an unprecedented and global economic upheaval, and it led to the exposure of vulnerabilities and resilience in the economies worldwide. As the government implemented lockdowns and social distancing measures in an attempt to stop the spread of the virus, industries across the spectrum, from traveling to manufacturing to hospitality and retail, and face sudden and severe disruptions. Unemployment rates surged, supply chains were fractured, and consumer behavior shifted dramatically, forcing policymakers and businesses to adapt quickly to rapidly changing landscape. And the pandemic highlighted not only existing inequalities within between nations, but it also accelerated trends like digitalization and remote work, reshaping the economic structures in ways that may persist long after the health crisis has been subsided. Now, okay, now something I found interesting is that the unemployment in the United States went down to 14.7%, which apparently is the lowest it had been since the 1940. And if and as the virus was new, no one, even the medical experts, were ready and knew what would happen. And it was unknown how long this would last and when life will return to normal, or even when vaccine would be ready. It was said that the uncertainty of the pandemic was on the same level as the Great Depression. And when the pandemic became serious, it was the governments began to see what tools they had at their disposal in order to prevent, manage, or temper the effects of the pandemic on the economy. One thing they found most effective was non-pharmacological interventions, which is a science-based, non-drug method to prevent medical or manage health issues. Many studies of the effects of NPIs found that they were effective in reducing the spread due to people having to wear masks and social distance and stay home. Though those scientists felt that it only delayed pandemic-related deaths, and while it reduced the severity of a recession, it prolonged its duration. Once vaccines became available, it was discussion on whether or not the pandemic would be over. And once life turned normal, it became very obvious that the pandemic led to an effect on the economy. Me with things like labor markets going down and stuff, and this scientists have outlined and expanded the body of knowledge by making a broad range of sectors: primary, secondary, tertiary, and quaternary. The primary sector about agriculture, energy, metals, and mining. The secondary is about construction, manufacturing, and utilities. Tertiary is about retail, finance, pharmaceuticals, and healthcare. And quaternary is about research and education. Okay, and, uh, and also it led to a formal analysis of the impacts of the pandemic in U.S., China, and the world. It led to factors like mandatory closures and gradual reopening processes, declining workforce due to more morbidity, mortality, and avoidance behavior, increased demands for healthcare, decreased demand for public transportation and leisure activities, and potential resilience through telework. It's been said that the U.S. GOP loss was range from $3.2 trillion to $4.8 trillion in 2 years. and the mandatory port closures and partial reopenings resulted in 22.3% to 60.6% decrease. So in conclusion, the economic landscape of the pandemic exposed the national system's adaptability and fragility, and it's been shown that the abrupt halt in activity had exposed vulnerabilities in deep structures such as labor markets, healthcare, and infrastructures. But it also accelerated innovation, and policymakers have been forced to deal with longstanding inequalities. The pandemic just serves not just as a historical economic crisis, but also as the catalyst of rethinking priorities and economics. And I believe that ultimately the lesson that was learned is to underscore the importance of building systems that can withstand future shocks, that while also promoting sustainable growth for equity in all. Thank you.